to another deep dive edition of the Chicks on the Right podcast. Greetings and salutations.
Salutations to everybody.
Yeah. We are very, very annoyed by by this chick that has made some headlines recently. She was a Texas elementary school teacher. She has now been fired from that job. And somehow, for some reason, Daisy decided to inflict her TikTok account onto me.
Hurled it. It's our TikTok. It's our TikTok account. I just happened to get onto our chick's TikTok account, and this chick just she actually inflicted herself onto me. And I was like, why do I got to see this? Why do I got to see it?
And then clearly you couldn't see it alone.
No, I had to show it to you. And then you're like, why do I have to see it? Now I have to go down the rabbit hole and look at all this chick stuff. Aw, jeez.
And I did. I couldn't just sit with the one that you sent me, which was bad enough as it was on its own.
It was bad.
Then I had to binge like the entire rest of her account and I guess I was feeling exponentially masochistic that day.
You were.
But just to give everybody some background before we inflict her onto our audience.
Sorry.
That's what you come here for, though, right? You got to hear what's new and trending. So this teacher, she was a third grade teacher. It's important that we point that out. And it was her first year of teaching at Becker Elementary School in Austin. Now, I don't know how many followers she started out with at the beginning of the school year. She currently has around 59,000. And that has grown even since a few days ago by about 2,000 simply because of this story. And so her name is Sophia Delaretto Chuddy, and she had herself talking to by an administrator at her school because she decided instead of being a grown-up and taking her grievance to the school administration in a way that a normal person would, whether it's a school or a corporation, she decided to put on blast the school administrator on her TikTok account and then was subsequently fired. Now, she's trying to say, I was fired because of I'm fired because it was unjust. And
I didn't know. I didn't
know.
I didn't know the rules. Yeah. It's like, I didn't know.
She's trying to say that. Which
I wasn't trained, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right.
The chick didn't make it through her first year of teaching.
But I mean, the real reason she got fired is because you don't go and badmouth your employer on social media and expect there to be no consequences. This is part of the growing up that she needs to do.
Yeah.
So let's start with her version of the story. And this is a little bit of a longer clip, but I think it gives us all the context that we need. And then someone, if you're watching out there, if you can explain why in the world someone would ever voluntarily choose this filter to put on your face when you're doing a video.
I honestly thought it was real at first. I was like, so she just has a lot of freckles. And I saw the other videos of her and I'm like, oh my God, that was a filter? Why?
Yeah, she did it on purpose. I knew right away because they are very fake looking, but they also moved, right? Like, so they didn't move with her face.
Right.
They moved away and apart from her face. So I was like, why would you choose that?
Yeah, this is what the kids are doing these days. So brace
yourselves.
yourselves.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah, I guess you just try to focus on the content and not the stupid ass filter. Yeah.
And there's no sound at first. It's just her holding up her little thing.
Okay.
That's it. That's the TikTok that got me barred from my classroom. And you know what really sucks?
Oh no.
It has nothing to do with what's in that memo. Nothing. It had nothing to do with my teaching practices, with my relationships with students, with how I dressed, with teaching hair. It had nothing to do with teaching. It's literally only because I whistle blew on TikTok instead of going through the appropriate channels to file a grievance.
Okay, well that makes sense, right?
And now I don't get to finish the year with my students.
Okay.
It just feels so fucking wrong. It feels so wrong. It just feels... I fucking love these kids.
Do you?
I would fucking die for them.
I don't think that's probably
I
true.
really don't think that's true.
I would die for them.
Really? Are there tears there? Is she actually crying? I can't tell.
I literally sacrificed so much to teach this year. I gave up my social life. I gave up sleep. I fucking didn't sleep this whole year. I'm not a morning person. And I was waking up at 6 a.m. and going to bed at 2 in the morning because I was learning geometry and stuff about the planets.
Yeah. Okay. She had to get up at 6, Mock. Can you imagine getting
sleeping in this house?
Right. I was gonna say for people who get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like that's. I would love to get up at 6 every morning. Can you imagine? I'd be so effing rested. Okay, so one of the things that happened for her to get, I guess, have a talking to by her superiors, by the people that employed her, was that she allowed her 3rd grade class to sit for the Pledge of Allegiance. Like there was some stuff that was happening in her classroom, which is there are some reasons that they asked her to come in and have a sit down with them, right? There were some reasons. It wasn't just like, willy-nilly, if you will. There were some, which I'm actually shocked about because this is Austin and Austin's pretty woke. So when I heard that, when I saw this happening, I was like, wow. I mean, I figured they'd let people do or let teachers do whatever the hell they wanted to in Austin because Austin is super liberal because I live in Texas. So I was like, dang, this is kind of crazy. But she, there was some of the stuff that in this article that they talked about that she notes that like the under God language was added to the pledge a century later because Republicans were afraid of communism and atheism and all this they were afraid. She taught her class things about the pledge. And so the kids decided that they wanted to not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff like that happened in her classroom, which, I mean, if we were going to have a debate about that, I'd be like, well, the pledge was, the pledge was actually that was added. The whole under God language is added in 1954. And it was bipartisan, by the way. It wasn't a Republican thing. So she's already kind of indoctrinating her kids by saying those mean old Republicans did that. There's certain things. That's
the main part, right? I mean, the list that she was given, the memo that she held up at the very beginning was not just about that. It was that she was terrible at communication. She would not respond to messages from the administration within the required 24 hours. That was the number one. But then the second part was not just even about the pledge. It was that they were asking her, you're teaching content that has nothing to do with what 3rd graders are supposed to be learning.
Exactly.
Explain yourself at once. Like, what are you do? Why do they even know anything about the pledge and where that line came from? Why are you telling them about civics to begin with? Like, this has nothing to do with coursework for 3rd graders.
Right.
That was the problem.
Right. Because 3rd graders are what? 7, 8-year-olds? Those are 7 and 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
7 and 8-year-olds don't really decide to protest. Right. I mean, let's just get real.
Unless they're indoctrinated to.
Unless they're encouraged to do that, unless they are told this is why you should protest, this is what you should protest against, let me teach you about what to protest, and then unless they're indoctrinated in some way. And that's precisely what she was doing. She wanted a captive audience that would listen to her bullshit.
Yeah, and she got them.
And she got it.
3rd graders are very trusting and they look to their authority.
Right.
And that's what she wanted.
Right. They're impressionable at that age. And so she preyed on them because they were young and impressionable. And that is not okay. It's one thing if you were like a high school teacher and you were teaching political science, say. And I could understand perhaps if she were teaching a political science class to a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds and she wanted to, talk about some of this stuff. I could see that. But these were not high school kids. These are like 8-year-olds who just wanted to learn a subject. And also Texas is I think we're ranked like 35 out of the 50 states when it comes to education. So she probably should be teaching them how to like read and write and do like the basic stuff as a 3rd grade teacher, because we suck here in Texas. We're sucking wind when it comes to education. And like, she has nothing to boast about being a teacher, being a Texas teacher, because like, we're not doing so hot here. in Texas when it comes to education. The last thing she needs to be doing is sitting in front or standing in front of a group of 8-year-olds and teaching them how to protest. She should be teaching them subjects is what she should be doing.
Well, and it's interesting that part of what she was saying was that she was having to stay up until 2:00 in the morning learning geometry, learning about the planets. This is the problem with education degrees right now, is that they don't actually teach you anything. They just teach you all this administration garbage and stuff about how to teach, when really I think we'd be a lot better off if we had actual master's degree level people in a subject matter being teachers instead of education majors teaching, and they don't know anything about any subject at all.
You're so right.
So
about
they're
that.
learning along with the kids, and it's just look at the results. I mean, it's not like we have to prove it. All we have to do is compare test results from 30 years ago to now. I mean, this is wow.
I mean, it's, and like case in point is if you look at her, if you look at the not the tweets, because it wasn't, she's a big time TikToker. But if you look at the TikToks and you look at some of the comments that she wrote, they're grammatically incorrect. The girl can't spell. She can't spell. And listen, that goes across the board. I mean, I deal with teachers here all the time. They can't spell. It's like, and I look at that and I think these are people who are teaching. Not all the teachers. There's some really great. I've actually had contact with a lot of very just brilliant, wonderful teachers here who are awesome at what they do. But then on the flip side, there are teachers like her who aren't. And they think that they're awesome and they think that they're going in there and they're going to make a difference. And it's like, no, they're activists. They're not teachers. And then she claims, oh, I love the children. No, you don't. You love the spotlight. You like to have the podium. You like the activist part of it. That's not why you're freaking there. It's not about you, chick.
Yeah.
It's like she just wants to make TikToks and be the center of attention. She wants to be the next AOC. That's who this chick wants to be. She wants a career in politics. And it's so evident.
That's clear.
It's evident by her TikTok. That's who she wants to be. She has no desire to teach, which is, I'm sure she's thrilled that she's out of it. And now she has 59,000 followers on TikTok and she's going to be a politician. And that was probably her goal to begin with.
Well, yeah, especially because she also taught her class apparently about Colin Kaepernick.
Oh my God.
She taught about defunding the police. She talked about police brutality. She talked about things that she had no business discussing with her third grade class.
Right.
And what I feel, I mean, honestly, it's a relief for those kids and parents, it should be anyway, that she is out of their hair and that maybe now they have a hope of actually learning some actual subjects that they're supposed to be learning about.
Yeah.
But she's the crying and then there was first that video of her crying, right? Well, then it gets worse. There's more crying. And then as you continue to go through the rabbit hole and watch more recent videos, she becomes defiant and just a total bitch about what happened and not owning any responsibility for airing out the dirty laundry on TikTok, which was ultimately what led to her dismissal. There was first the memo saying, we got to talk about these things. We got to figure out what's going on. So instead of actually having the conversation, she decides to put the school on blast and share the memo on the screen on TikTok instead of actually addressing the concerns that they had with her. So of course they're going to fire her. They would have been irresponsible for them not to fire her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's look at the second part of that video.
So it's April 6th, and I just had my last meeting with human resources at the district offices. And it was like an hour and a half long. And they told me that there's no way that they can let me go back to my campus. They're worried about it causing disruptions. Don't know what those would be, but...
Oh my God. Seriously, I have no idea. She's real smart, this one.
Literally nothing to do with how I was teaching or what I was teaching or what I was wearing. It's literally just the fact that I whistle blew on TikTok instead of going through their process of filing agreements.
Yeah. That's
it's just about TikTok, nothing else. And I begged and I pleaded and I offered to sign an NDA. I offered to make a follow-up TikTok explaining that I made a mistake and that I learned my lesson, and I just didn't know better because I didn't fucking know what the social media policy was because I'd never seen it before. And they said they feel like the kids are fine. They're going to make it through the end of the year.
It's unreal, isn't it? It's really indicative of this generation too. We've done so many podcasts on the different generations. Let's just put it this way. You want to see a Gen Zer doing this.
Yeah.
This is like I'm sorry, I said Gen X are doing this. Did I say Gen Zer? You wouldn't see a Gen.
I was tracking.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking Gen X.
You were thinking Gen Xer, but you wouldn't see a Gen Xer doing this. But like Gen Z is, if you look at her feed, it's just, she makes 3 TikToks a day on average. It's like constant, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And that's why when she says, oh, it's all about the kids and I care about, no, you don't. You care. It's a generational thing. You know, you have to like, look at me. It's got to be about me. What about me? Like, it's just I thought millennials were bad. It's like every generation just seems to get worse when it comes to all consuming self-gratification, me.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy when I see that. It's hard to try to convince somebody who is so self-absorbed that you have got to teach these kids a subject. It's about teaching them. It is about them. It is about teaching them actual subjects. And it's not about your activism. It's not about, because I mean, and I've said this before, I used to teach at the college level and I am obviously a conservative. Obviously. I mean, it's like we have a site, we have a business that's Chicks on the Right. My kids never knew what side of the aisle I was on. And when it started to get to the point where we got a radio gig, I got the hell out of teaching. I got out of it because I knew that it would be disruptive. Mm-hmm. There would be a conflict of interest. And we got to the point where like that would be weird, right?
And inappropriate.
And inappropriate for me because of what we did. Now, if I loved it. I loved teaching, but I knew that there would obviously be a conflict of interest. These people don't get it. Like they bring their activism full on into the classroom. And that is not what makes a good teacher. You've got to put teaching first, and they just simply don't do it. They are active. These are full on freaking activists, and they are churning them out in schools, like in universities. They are not making teachers anymore. They are making activists, and parents have every right to be pissed off about this because education has suffered at the hands of these people. And so I don't think, this De Loreto Shuddy person, she doesn't get it because all she knows, she went through school. I'm assuming she went through a teaching program, and she was taught how to be a effing activist. She wasn't taught how to be a good teacher. And so there's a part of me that's mad at her, but then there's also a part of me that's like, she just doesn't get it. She can't see it. She just sees herself in a TikTok. She thinks that what she's doing is teaching. I really think that this generation thinks when they get out of school, that's teaching. It's not teaching.
Well, and it's interesting in that last clip too, where she was saying, I offered to sign an NDA. I offered to make a second TikTok that said I learned my lesson and that I was sorry that I did something inappropriate. And I couldn't tell if she was saying that she said those things simply to try to get her job back, or if she actually recognized in that moment, yeah, I didn't go through the proper channels. I didn't do this right. I did make a mistake. Because when I heard, I thought just a little bit of contrition. Then I saw later TikToks or more recent TikToks where she was like, well, I totally wanted to quit that job anyway. And I'm like, you literally were just crying your eyes out over losing that job. You don't now get to say, I hated that job and I didn't want to have it anyway. Yeah. I mean, it's just, she's just so dumb.
It's like you either wanted to die for those kids or you wanted to like not be there every day. What kind of a disconnect is that? And then I thought of you because since you were in human resources, isn't Texas one of those right to work kind of? Right. I think it is. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a right to work, like one of those. And I think Indiana was that way too, where like if a company fires you, they can fire you for any reason.
Oh, you
right?
mean like it's an at-will employment situation?
Yes, it's that. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's one of those deals where if they fired her because they just didn't think that she was a good teacher, they just were like, we don't like you. We're going to go ahead and fire you. She's all lawyering up now, and she's saying, oh, I'm lawyering. And she's telling people, oh yeah, I've got lawyers. I don't think she has a case to stand on.
She does not. She absolutely does not.
Because
that's insane.
Right. I mean, because if she is, and I find it so just like these people are so arrogant when they think that they can sue for something that she was in the wrong here. I think she was in the wrong. And especially like I go back to the generational thing where they think they can get out and they can bitch and moan on a social media platform about an employer who gave them an opportunity. And it's like, I'm just going to go ahead and crap all over this opportunity, bitch about you on social media, and then sue you when you fire me.
Right.
What is
and
that?
And at no point is she like, oh, well, there are the consequences of my own actions.
Right.
I mean, at some point, she even did a TikTok. I know we don't have it here, but there was one TikTok that I saw her do where she was like, what are we supposed to do when we have grievances except make social media content about it? And she was like, of course, this is what my generation is going to do. We have no choice except to make social. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Do you realize that there was a world that existed before TikTok? Right. And somehow we all grew up in it and managed to become actual adults who understand that there are consequences to our behavior. And she's just like, well, I mean, what choice did I have?
I don't understand.
I had to make a TikTok.
Right. And so clearly my next step is I'm going to run for senator. Clearly. What? Like it's hard? I mean, I swear. And you know what? And she probably will become one.
Yeah. I mean, if AOC can do it, man, she can do it too.
This is our freaking world, you guys. This is where we are. And the thing is, people will be like, she's so brave, stunning and brave. She's the next De Loretto Chuddy. She's the next senator, you guys. She's great. Prop her up. What? Put her in her crop top and her little rainbow necklace. She's it. So great. This is where we are. It's effing crazy.
Let's play the last video that we have of her when she's just super excited to keep talking about this because the lighting is really good.
Yes, it's really good.
The lighting in my kitchen just keeps getting better and better, so I'm just going to keep responding. Also because my ADHD is super severe today. Anywho, Alicia, I would completely agree with you if I worked somewhere like Google or like Facebook or some like tech company place, whatever. I was a first year teacher, meaning I had a classroom of 20 students who didn't have a teacher when they took me out of the classroom. I also didn't get trained on this policy. Didn't know it existed. You know how like if you get pulled over for running a red light, it's justified to like get a ticket because you had to pass a driver's test so you didn't get behind the wheel. I didn't have that. They said, here's your classroom. And then when they plucked me, the kids had nowhere to go.
This is such bull. There's no way that she actually started teaching without signing off on whatever, a code of conduct or whatever they have at the school that every employee has to sign on to. Like that just doesn't happen in 2023 or 2022. It doesn't happen that you don't sign off on agreeing to the company policies. There's no way.
It's probably like those Apple policies, you know, that you just like, you scroll through and you don't read and then you just go, yeah, whatever. Just like, give me my iPhone crap. I'm sure that she did. And she probably just signed it and she didn't read it. You know, I'm sure that
that's not going to hold up well when she tries to sue. She'll be like, well, I didn't read it.
I didn't read it. Is the lighting okay? I'm doing a TikTok right now in my trial. Because I have to do
the lighting okay in the courtroom? Because I have to get my best side.
I have to do at least 3 a day. Because people need to know what I ate for breakfast.
It's funny because when I was binging her videos last weekend or whatever, I was noticing that the comments overwhelmingly were ripping her to shreds.
Oh,
and they were just like, this is completely your fault. The school was completely in the right. You are a moron. And then you were telling me, I can't believe how supportive all the comments are today.
Everybody.
She wiped them.
So she wiped. Seriously,
she
went
had
in there?
to have, because when I was looking at them, everyone was like
You're an idiot.
completely mocking her. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's because I was so disheartened when I saw today. I'm like, everybody is just praising her today, and I'm like, we're doomed, Mock. We're totally doomed, because everybody's just like, you're so stunning and brave. And I'm like, what is? We're like, I need to start prepping. I can't like this. Like, we're so doomed. This world, like. Oh my God, I just cannot with these people. And then you told me that happened. Like, maybe she scrubbed it, which she just can't take all the criticism, huh?
Yeah.
She can't take it. Yeah.
Yeah. She definitely didn't want the overwhelming number of comments to be saying you are a moron and you're completely wrong in this.
Well, she's definitely an activist. I mean, she's gone to like the state house. She's against HB3, which is against they are for HB3 is for armed guards in Texas schools. She doesn't want that, but yet she's totally for, every other federal building having armed guards, right? It's just not our kids. I mean, God forbid we have our kids be protected, even though she'd die for them. She doesn't want armed guards in our schools. She doesn't want that. So that's one thing she doesn't like. She also hates men. There was like a TikTok out there where she was, I guess, changing a flat tire, and men, like lovely Texas men, were stopping to help her. And she was pissed off about that in one of her TikToks, so God forbid a man tries to stop and help her change a tire. So she didn't like that. So, I mean, there's just like her whole thing is she's just a feminist liberal. Like just what you'd expect.
Your noun.
Just what you'd expect from a woman that's on the left. And it's like I said, she's been indoctrinated probably by the educational system that's been put in place over the past 20, 30 years, that's now churning out this new generation of how can we indoctrinate your kids to be just like her. And so this is what we get, you guys. This is what we get when we stop paying attention and we're not plugged in to education. And now that people are starting to pay attention, we're like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Now what?
Know your kids' teachers, know your kids' school subjects, know what they're learning, stay on top of it. That's probably the best lesson we can take from today's deep dive episode.
Absolutely. Where can people find us? Chicksontheright.com. Is that the best place?
That's the best place. And then obviously they should be putting this podcast right in their tool belt. So if they want to take us on the go, they can't watch live in the morning at 7:30 Eastern weekdays. If they can't do that and they just want to listen later, just subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Absolutely. Until next week, you guys, have a good one.